Hey guys, Az here at Shield K9, and I'm just feeding my horses. And I was thinking about this horse fence and all the similarities that this horse fence has with e-collar training. I know it's not the fact that there's electricity involved or that there's zapping. It's the theory, the behavioral science behind this horse fence and how it relates to dog training. Now, the proposition of most people that are against e-collar training is that the dog lives in this constant state of fear. He's in this constant state of terror and fear and submission because you have corrected him in the past for making mistakes or for disobedience. So now he's constantly afraid, and the only reason he listens to you is because he's afraid. And he's living in this horrendous state of constant terror. This is the proposition of the vast majority of people that are against e-collar training. I want you to look at these horses. Okay? They have all been zapped with this fence. Both of them have been zapped by this fence, and they are not afraid. These are flight animals. If you know anything about horses, you know that they're probably a lot less confident than your average dog because they're flight animals, right? They're prey animals, whereas dogs are predators and omnivores, okay? So the average dog tends to be a little bit more confident and sure than a horse is. These horses have been, and this fence, by the way, is no joke. It gives you quite a jolt. I don't want to touch this fence, right? Those horses are relaxed, they're eating. If you know anything about horse body language, you can see that those horses are pretty chilled out, right? And yet they're surrounded in this 30 by 50 box by electricity. And no, they don't live here 24/7, okay? I have a big turnout for them, which is also surrounded by an electric fence, by the way. And if you keep horses, you know why you use the electric fence, right? The average horse, you know, they're pretty prone to breaking out of things. And think about it, the consequences of your horse breaking out, right? Horse goes on the road, kills somebody, God forbid, or gets killed, gets injured, gets eaten by a predator, if you live in the middle of nowhere, right? There's a lot of bad things that can happen if your horses get loose. Least of all is you actually losing the horse, right? So we use these fences to contain them and to keep them safe, right? And within those confines, you have animals that look like this. And you know why they're not afraid? You know why they're not in this constant state of terror, even though they've had an aversive consequence, right? Not numerous, a couple times. They're not stupid, right? They did it a couple times and they're like, okay, we stay away from that white wire. You know why? Because they understand the rules. And good e-collar training is no different. Good e-collar training is very clear to the dog. Good training, period. Good any training system. I don't care if you use the e-collar, the pinch collar, a stick, whatever it is you use as your aversive consequence. If the dog clearly understands what the aversive is and how to avoid it and how to be successful in the training, right, then you don't have a problem. Now this fence that runs all the way around this little spot that they're in, that keeps them contained and that keeps them safe and also keeps them nice and calm, right? This fence is the most crude form of e-collar training. Our e-collar training is much more refined than this fence. This fence is basically you touch it, you get zapped, end of story. But it's so clear, even though it's the most crude form, it's basically, it's an aversive, right? Like you touch it, bad things happen. And you could do that with e-collars, right? People do it, right? Like, okay, you touch the counter, you get zapped. You bark, you get zapped. This is very crude, right? And yet, even in that crude circumstance, when it's done properly and when the dog understands the system of communication that you have and how to avoid the aversive consequence, there is no fear. And you know why there's no fear? Because the dog knows where the figurative white wire is. Okay? Now think about it even from the human perspective. We're cerebral, we're smart. You can say to somebody, hey, that's wrong, I don't want you to do that. You can say it to your kids. Think about your kids, those of you that have kids. How many of your kids are obedient to you all the time? Now, I don't know anybody that's got kids that listen all the time and always do the right thing, regardless of whether or not they know. And in most cases, they do know better. And the reason why is because we have our own selfish wants, our own desires, our own needs, okay? And sometimes those don't jive with whatever the right thing is, okay? So for you, you don't want your dog to run away. You don't want your dog to go and jump on a stranger. You don't want your dog, to go eat that garbage. But for your dog, it makes no sense. Why can't I do those things? Those are natural, instinctual things for me to do. And your only thing that you've got going is, oh, well, Fluffy, I've got this liver treat, so please don't chase those squirrels. I've got this liver treat for you. Good luck. Okay, that liver treat isn't going to work for you all the time. And if you've trained dogs, you know, to any degree of success, you know that. All right. Now I know there's the positive only trainers are going to start with their nonsense about how they, you know, do this and do that. Listen, it's all nonsense. That's why they can't show you videos. That's why they can't make that level of success for you, right? The vast majority of dogs, that kind of stuff doesn't work with. And that's because, like human beings, they have their own minds, and they sometimes, even though they might understand what it is that you want, and positive training is great for teaching a dog what you want, by the way. It's great, and we use it all the time. It's great for teaching what you want. It's not great for making your dog reliable, because reliable includes obligation. It means like you must do it, whether or not you want to do it, right? So there's this misconception out there that, you know, e-collar training is just basically zapping your dog when he doesn't listen. And if you do that, good luck to you. I mean, that's not what we do. And don't think that just because I'm using this horse fence as a kind of like a figurative example, that that's what you should do. Because if you do that, you can really mess up your dog. And if you watch my earlier video on recall training, you see that that is not what we do, right? That we don't just tell the dog to come and zap the dog. We most certainly don't do that. And we're not zapping the dog to any degree close to what that horse fence gets you, man. I don't want to touch that horse fence. That is no joke. I'll take 100 on the e-collar before I ever touch that horse fence, okay? And those horses, once again, just for those of you that doubt me, super chill. Everybody's eating, everybody's comfortable, okay? And you know horses can stress like no other animal. So anyways, good e-collar training, good dog training creates this figurative box. See, this is a physical box, but a figurative box around behaviors. So for instance, right, let's use like a recall. My dog can be off leash with me, walking around, doing his thing, you know, whatever it is that he or she wants to do. And the box that exists in his mind is, I can do whatever I want to do within the box, but when I get called, all of a sudden there is a figurative white wire in front of me and on either side of me. And the only place that there isn't a white wire is when I turn and I look at my handler and move towards him. There's no white wire there. That is the correct behavior. If I choose not to do that behavior, then there is a consequence, because we've already shown him through numerous repetitions with a lot of positive consequences, as well as sometimes a negative consequence in the process, what the desirable behavior is. So he understands this. That's why he's not afraid. He knows how to avoid it, right? Think about it from your perspective. You drive on the road every day. There are many crimes that you can commit when you drive on that road, right? But the reason why you don't drive and you're not constantly in a state of fear is because you understand the rules of the road and you understand how to avoid the negative consequences. Whether it's a negative consequence from, you know, getting in a car accident and doing the wrong thing, or whether it's a negative consequence from a legal standpoint, getting a ticket, you know, even going to jail. There are a lot of bad things you can do on the road. Yet none of you are afraid when you drive, or I guess the vast majority of you aren't afraid when you drive unless you have anxiety issues. And by the way, it's not so different with dogs. There are dogs with severe anxiety issues, and for anything, they really need e-collar training, because what e-collar training, good e-collar training does is it creates that box in the dog's mind, and that box creates security. Okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm in the box, right? And everywhere there is a box, whether you're teaching your dog to sit, there's a box. Whether you're out and your dog's off leash, there's a box. When your dog's walking next to you in a heel, there's a box. When your dog's in a social situation, there's box, and there can be multiple boxes. If you're good at this and you know how to do it, you're really, what it is, it's not the zapping that works. It's creating that box in your dog's mind so your dog understands the figurative box that exists within a specific context, because context changes the box. So a crude example, right? I've got this gate piece here. Now, if I take this gate piece off, now the wire in this area is dead, okay? And my horses aren't stupid, they know that. So I can open this gate and lead them out. And if I leave this gate open, by the way, they'll just walk right out. Now, if I was to put this wire here like that, okay, and open the gate, they still will not come out, because they understand. They understand the box. Oh, that wire's still there. Even if this gate is open, means we can't come out, okay? Good dog training systems are no different. They are just real. A good dog trainer and a good system communicates very clearly for the dog what that box is in the specific context of the situation, because it changes, right? And that's the challenge. If it was just zapping dogs, then any idiot would buy an e-collar, throw it on their dog, zap, and the dog would be trained, and I wouldn't have a business, okay? The reason I use the e-collar is because it's a very powerful tool, in skilled and knowledgeable hands. It is not a powerful tool if you don't know what you're doing. Probably about 30%, 40% of my clients tell me they've already tried the e-collar or the pinch collar. And they bring the dog, oh, that doesn't work for him. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work when you use it. It's like me saying, you know, as a contractor, if I was a contractor, or sorry, if I was just a guy with a power saw, which I have a power saw, by the way, have no idea how to use it. I can cut a piece of wood in half. That's about it. Okay? There are guys out there with that skill saw that can do a million different things. They can build a damn house with it. I can't, because I don't have the skill. I don't know how to use that tool properly. E-collars are no different. Now, I'm sure they could use a hand saw, right? So if I say to the contractor, I don't believe in skill saws. I don't want you to use electrical anything. I want you to just use a hand saw to build this house. He'd probably look at me like, dude, are you crazy? It's going to take me, you know, three quarters less time to do it because it's so much more efficient and effective to use the electrical tools. Now, dog training is no different, guys. It's really no different, but it's a lot more complicated. Well, I shouldn't say it's a lot more complicated because I don't know anything about carpentry. So I'm going to shut my mouth about carpentry because I don't know what I'm talking about. And that's what you should do if you don't know what you're talking about. You should do this and open these, or open these and read, right? And you might learn something.